Hi there, my name is Joa Crandall. I am the owner and designer behind SpecialHeartStudio.com. Today's tutorial will be how to assemble my free layered Christmas angel. She is 3D and will stand up. You could use her for a tree topper. And I've also designed the pattern so that you can add LED lights inside, so her wings will light up. There are links to all the materials needed in my blog post, which I will link to here in the description. If you would like, you can also make the pattern into a shadow box. So here you'll see I've used just the front portion of the angel design and put her in a really pretty shadow box. The file was created so that it can be cut fairly small too. So last year I made her on my Cricut Joy just at 4 inches wide, and it makes a beautiful ornament. So follow along. The project itself is not hard, it's just a little bit of time consuming. And like I said, you can get the SVG absolutely free from my freebie vault, which is exclusive to my email subscribers. Thanks, enjoy.
Before we get started in Design Space, I'd like to go over the tools and materials that we'll be using for this project. I'm going to use both a blue and green mat. Most of the angel I cut on 65-pound cardstock. I've really found that I like this Recollection brand that I find at Michael's. I am going to use just a scrap piece of glitter cardstock. It's pretty thick, so that's when I'll use the green mat. For tools, I'll use a brayer, tweezers. You'll see why when we assemble these. And either the scoring stylus, or if you have a maker, the scoring wheel can be used. Either will work perfectly fine. To assemble the angel, I will use a little bit of Arts glitter glue, which actually has no glitter in it. Some crafting double stick tape, 3D Zots, and these tiny micro pop dot adhesives, which is why we need the tweezers. And last, if you want your angel to light up, you can use LED fairy lights. I bought this pack on Amazon. It actually has 6 sets of these. There's 20 lights on a 3.3 foot wire. To get started, we will upload the SVG format from the download folder. Make sure that you've unzipped the download folder in order to locate the SVG format. That is the file format that you'll want to use with a Cricut machine. So from the design space, you'll click upload, upload image, and then browse to navigate to where you have saved the unzipped folder and select the SVG file format. Click open. You'll be brought back to this upload image page where you can rename the image to your liking and add some tags if you would, to make it easier to find in your Cricut library later. And then click save. One last step to upload, we will highlight the image and click insert image. Now she will be on your design canvas. You'll see on the right in the layers panel, the file has been saved in 3 different groups. So you'll want to come over and ungroup them. Let me take a step back. If you're wanting to resize her, I highly recommend that you do that from this point where she's all still grouped so that the proportions of the different layers remain accurate. I will note that she has been saved and will upload at this 17.607 width by 11.097. Once you ungroup these, that will allow the angel her individual setting will be just shy of 8 inches so that she's able to be cut on 8.5 by 11-inch paper. I find that the cardstock, when I purchase personally, that it's a little less costly to purchase packs of the 8.5 by 11-inch paper versus 12-inch paper. But if you'd like to make her bigger on a 12 by 12-inch cardstock, you're able to do that by resizing. Just remember to leave it grouped so that the sizes stay proportionate. So we'll ungroup her. If you were wanting to create a project just using the top layer, as I have in the framed shadow box, and not a 3D angel that will stand up on her own, from here you could hide the second angel and then her side skirt. But in this demonstration, I'm going to show how to cut and assemble her in a 3D format. So now we need to focus our attention on the side skirts. They have score lines that we'll need to fix so that they score correctly instead of cutting. As a designer, you cannot tell your file to save as a cut file or as a score line, and we have to let the Cricut know that we want that line to be score lined versus cut. So the top group as it uploaded here are the side triangle type pieces that are her side skirts. You'll want to highlight that section and ungroup. That leaves the two sides. From here, you'll click the one that is just the line, not the long piece, and you'll see here it says cut. We need to come over here to the line type and change that to score. Once that is done, we need to attach the score line to that cut line. And we'll repeat the process for the other side. So highlight the cut line, come over here, change that to a score line, highlight both pieces, and attach. Now, I saved the angel in various shades of gray, and that was simply for ease of viewing the different layers. In this demonstration, I'm going to cut her with all white paper and leave the yellow here will be a gold glitter halo. If you want to change the colors, I find it easy to come over here to the color sync, and you can drag all of the layers so that she's in that really light gray or a white if you wanted to change it to white too. I just saved them, like I said, that way so that it was easier to see. We are ready to make it. Cricut defaults to 12 by 12 material size. So as I mentioned, I like to use, if I can, 8.5 by 11-inch paper. So we'll want to come down here and change the settings that's what is being used. You'll have to do that for every color that you have that you plan to use with your materials. I'm just using a scrap of glitter, but I will still change the setting there. So now you'll see that she's set to cut on 12 different mats, so 12 pieces of paper. I know that Cricut sometimes wastes a little bit of paper. You can feel free to use the 12 pieces of paper, but I do know, I've worked with her so much now, that the very top layer of the angel with her skirt and the shorter wings can be combined to save one sheet of paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on this mat 9 where I can see the other one, her back side or front side, that's the same front and back. It looks like it's on mat 8. So I'm going to click the 3 little dots on the top of the mat, click Move Object, and bring her over here to the mat 8 and confirm. Now it looks like it's just one there, but because it's a duplicate, you'll want to make sure to move it. And then I'm going to turn her sideways. Sometimes it can be a little touchy, and pull her down. And then the one that was already there, I will turn sideways and move her up. That way, I saved at least one piece of paper. And we will go ahead and click continue. With the Recollections paper that I'm using from Michaels, it's 65-pound weight cardstock, but I found that the light cardstock setting that's already in the Cricut as a base material works perfectly with my maker using a light blue mat. We want to come back up here. Don't forget to come back up to the first mat, and we'll select that we're using the light cardstock. From here, since that first mat has those side pieces that have the score lines, it's telling me to load my tools and materials. So I do have the scoring wheel. If you don't have a scoring wheel, you can also change to the scoring stylus if that's something that if you're an Explorer Air 2 user and have the stylus, or if you can use the stylus. Now it's time to load the mat. You'll want to use a brayer. The paper will really stick better to the mat and you'll have less ripping of paper when you use a brayer. The first time I used one, it felt a little silly, but I've really found that it prevents the paper from slipping at all so that the cuts are clean and the paper doesn't tear. Now that the first layer is cut, it's time to remove the paper from the mat. I found the best way is to turn the mat upside down so that the paper is flat against your work surface. Slowly and gently bend the mat up while keeping the paper and peeling it, leaving it as flat to the work surface as possible. This will help prevent peeling and keep your piece of paper as flat as can be. We'll speed up the video as we cut the remaining layers so to get to the point where we're ready to put our angel together. Okay, now that we've got the angel pieces all cut out, it's time to put her together. So we have the two side skirt pieces, the halo, and then we'll sort through these pieces. And while I do this, I'll make sure that all the little cutouts have been removed. They look good. Okay, we'll focus on one side at a time. So I'll set one up here. I like to put them in the correct order of layers and then turn it upside down so that I know where I'm working. It's best to put the foam dots on the next piece. If you were to put the foam dots on the solid piece, then you may put them where the hole is. So we'll adhere the foam dots on this side, and then I'll show you a trick to get her lined up perfectly with the next layer. Because she's so intricate, I found these micro pop dot adhesives on Amazon from Forever and Time. They work really well, but they're tiny, so it's best to use the tweezers. This is a little bit of a tedious process, but so worth it in the end. So we'll just start sticking these where they will fit, spaced so that there won't be any gaps or sagging in the layers. I think it's best just to figure out where they fit and fill them in that way. Okay, we are ready to adhere the second from the bottom layer to the bottom. What I found, and I've done this with all the layered mandalas that I've created also, is it's easiest to line it up if you just take a few of the pop dots backs off and then hold that spot up while you line up the ones that are still covered. So I'm going to remove this bottom row along her skirt and line it up while holding that part up, and then bend her back and remove the covers from the rest. So here we go. I have found these are so small, it's best to push down on them before you peel the tops off. So I'm going to hold the skirt portion up while I line her up and hold in place how I want her to be. Now that I've got her where I like, I will push this portion down, adhere those, turn it over, and peel the rest of these. Okay, I'm going to use that same process throughout the entire project, where I will line up the bottom row so that I can make sure that I get everything aligned as evenly as possible before I adhere the whole layer. We'll fast forward through some of these pop dots since it's a really tedious process to get to the next step. Okay, now we're ready for her halo. This is where I use the art glitter glue. It's got this fine precision lid. Just takes a teeny amount. We'll glue that right on there. There we go. I'm going to set this one aside and repeat the process again with the back. Okay, we're ready to put the two halves together and add the lights to our 3D angel. These are lights I purchased on Amazon. They come 6 packs to a box. There's 20 lights on each strand, and the strands are 3.3 feet long. I found that I like the warm white better than the cool white, especially with the gold glitter. So I think it's a good idea to make sure they work before you get started. There we go. Test them out. The next trick is to untangle them. Okay, so we'll want to get them so that they're all unwound. There we go. We'll turn our angel half over, and now it's time for these super sticky Zots. Zots work perfectly when you're using lights because, of course, they're clear, these 3D Zots, and the light will shine through. So I'm going to leave a little bit so that the controller and on-off switch can hang so you can turn it on and off without ripping her. And then we're simply going to put the Zot on top of the wire. It will hold the light in place. And we're going to repeat this process around the outside of these wings. Don't be afraid to use a lot of these. They will also hold the other half of the angel together. I'm stuck. Go ahead and stick it on that dot that's already there. Once again, I'm stuck. Okay, we're going to foam tab remnants here. Okay, we're going to use one on her head. And then if there's any big gaps, we'll add another one. Because like I said, these will adhere the other half of the angel. And you want to make sure it sticks. I may go overboard with dots. I try to be conservative with foam tabs, dots. One more. She's never coming apart. Okay, make sure they still work. Ooh. Okay, and then we're gonna take the other half of the angel and line her up. We'll do a bit like we did with the foam tabs. Make sure the bottom is aligned this time, and then press down. And don't be afraid to really press down and hold these things together. So you squeeze there. Two sides of the head. Okay, next we'll turn our attention to the sides of the skirt. When designing this, I didn't think one layer was strong enough, but then I had a terrible time getting the second layer aligned, so I decided to attach them. So you'll remember we used score lines. So there's a score line at the bottom and then two at the sides. So what we want to do is fold it at the bottom and make sure it lines up. And then these tabs fold in. So I kind of like to pre-fold them, but then we'll lay it flat again. So I'm not the patient type to let glue dry long enough to do this, so I'm going to use a tape runner. So with the folded sides, just using a piece of scrap paper here so that I don't get tape on my table, I'm going to put a little bit here, a little bit at the top, and then down those folded sides, and even a little bit on the inside of the fold so that it holds the folded part over. So we'll fold this up here. Press it down. And then what we're going to do is tilt her on the side. Make sure that the wire doesn't get in the way. And you'll want to line this up so that this little notch meets the bottom of the skirt. Once you have it in place, you'll want to lay it down and just run your finger in there, really rub it so that it sticks well. Turn it over and repeat. And then we'll do that again. Once again, make sure the wire's not in the way and that it is in the skirt. Trust me, from a prototype, you don't want the wire sticking out the side. And we're going to line up the edge right here with the end of the skirt, just so it's even with the sides on both sides. it. I don't know with the bright lights if you get the beautiful effect, but there we go. And she'll stand up. She'd make a great topper for a Christmas tree or sitting on a buffet. Easy Christmas angel. I should mention, if you're a Cricut Joy user, she cuts perfectly well and would be a great size for an ornament. This one I cut at 4 inches wide on my Joy.